Okay, well, it's 9 o'clock, so we could try and get started. Anyone who's not talking, especially after we're done with roll call, if you could mute if you're not talking, that'd be great. Usually it's *6, I think, to mute if people don't know yet. All right, good morning, everybody. We'll start with a quick check to make sure we have secretarial service. And we have Kelsey or somebody on here today. Was that Kelsey? Oh, Kim. Good morning, Kim.
Good morning. Hello, this is Lisa Litzinger. I have to mute because I'm working, so I won't be able to announce myself later.
Okay, Lisa. We'll make sure we note that you're here. Thanks. Okay, so we'll do a quick roll call then. I'm Annette Lutz, Toledo rep. Tom Neal, are you here?
Yes, Madam Chair, I'm here.
Okay. What about Scott Allen?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning.
Good morning. Larry Danflis.
Here.
Good morning, Larry. Doug Brusso.
Here.
Morning, Doug. Jim Beavis.
Jim is here. Good morning.
Good morning. And Frank Bergassa.
Take the second exit onto South Avenue.
Here.
Okay. Good. All the reps are here. Let's see about alternates. Christopher Douglas.
Yes, here. Good morning,
Good
everyone.
morning, Christopher. Dean Hamilton.
Come here.
Okay. John Canady.
Good morning. I'm here.
Good morning, John. John Giorgio.
Good morning, I'm here.
Good morning. Keith Trammell. Or Dave Bergassa. Okay. Let's see what operators we have. Toledo area.
Connie Shannington, I'm going to mute. Thanks.
Okay. Good morning, Connie. Pet Camille Forrest.
I will.
Okay. Any other Toledo?
Dwayne Burkholder.
Good morning, Dwayne.
Good morning.
What about Cleveland?
Mark Messick.
Morning, Mark.
Good morning.
Dave.
Who was the last name?
Dave.
Oh, Dave Padgett? Okay. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning.
What else for Cleveland? All right, Akron Canton. Okay, Zanesville. We know Lisa Litzinger is here. And what about Columbus?
Julie Russell.
Morning, Julie.
Missy Straight.
Good morning, Missy.
Patty Howard.
Oh, hi, Patty.
Hi, Annette.
Anybody else from Columbus? What about Dayton? Okay, or Cincinnati?
Derek.
Good morning, Derek. Okay. OOD BSBI staff.
Christy's here.
Morning, Christy.
Amy's here.
Amy and Cynthia.
Sally's here.
And Sally. Okay. Any guest?
Mike Russell, we missed Akron Canton, or I missed you, one of the two.
Okay, Mike. Good morning.
Morning.
Anybody else who believes they got missed?
Ethan Gregory's here with the AG's office.
Good morning, Ethan.
Good morning.
Okay. Let's talk about the minutes. There were several of them that were distributed. Most specifically, the April 16th meeting and the special meeting. And I believe there was a couple for back in February.
Madam Chair.
Chair, it's Christy.
Yes, Christy.
I was going to ask if Tom could mute everyone and then we can unmute. We're getting horrible backseat.
Okay. Well, there's something stopped.
Oh, thank you.
Much better.
Yeah, that's better.
Madam Chair, did we want to start with any certain month with these minutes, or
I'm not sure if she's having trouble unmuting herself. Let me see if I can find her in the list here.
There we go.
There she is.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the February, I believe it's February 19th and 26th or something, the two outstanding minutes from February.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Thanks, Larry. Are there any discussion?
Well, just a little bit. I took a look at
Okay.
those after the last meeting, and we've kind of batted those back and forth. I took a look at them, and I didn't see anything that was inaccurate or needed adjustment, and I'm not sure why they why they weren't accepted before, but I see no reason not to do it now.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right. Committee members all in favor of approving the February 19th and 26th meetings?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, then we have April 16th, I believe the date was.
Madam Chair,
Yes, right.
I think there was some confusion when we were going over the university update and the April 16th meeting. It says, university update, CSU and University of Cincinnati. We have reached out and we have sent a letter to them asking them to contact us when their contract is due to renew. I think maybe, I don't know if it was CSU or Ohio University got mixed up in this, and I'm doing this from memory, but I know that Christy had told us in April 16th that the University of Cincinnati, that they had elevated it from, just a letter that they had sent on February 12th to, I guess they had sent a second letter, elevated it from OOD Chief Legal Counsel to, for example, at UC, their Chief Legal Counsel. I do not remember where the University of Akron fell in that, but I also know at some point Cleveland State University became a part of that conversation as well. So I was just trying to make sure that we reflect exactly, what the program was doing and what we were told. So I'm not exactly sure how we need to fix this. And if someone else remembers some of the language from that, I would certainly invite them to chime in as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Frank. And I'm not sure if I remember the exact, because I know we did talk some about OU. We did talk some about Akron U. But where all of those were differentiated in that meeting, I don't remember specifically. Anybody have some thoughts on it, or?
Well, the meetings are, Madam Chair, the meetings are now being recorded, so there's a actual record of what actually took place. If there's little discrepancies, it could always be backed up with recording.
Okay, maybe we just put, make sure the minutes today reflect that there was some confusion and that we would want to double check those minutes, since we don't remember exactly which one was which at that point. We're going to get a university update today, and maybe just have today's minutes reflect Frank's concern, and that there was some confusion in the last minutes, and go from there. Will that work? Or
Sounds good to me.
yeah. So that being said, does anyone move to accept the minutes with the notation in these minutes that there was a concern?
I will.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I'll second.
Okay. Any more discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Then we have the minutes from the May 7th special meeting.
Madam Chair, I move to accept those minutes.
Okay.
And I
Is there-
second.
Okay. Thanks, Doug. Any discussion on those? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay. The motions and responses, is there any discussion on those? Okay. Then we will move to public comment. I have had 2 requests for public comment. I'll do them in the order I received the requests. So first would be Derek Newfar.
Good morning, everyone. I'm not still muted, am I?
No, we hear you.
You know you're supposed to say yes. Everybody knows our vision statement, so I won't recite it. And everybody knows that underlying that is a mission, which is the Randolph-Shepard Act. And we sometimes are able to see ourselves the way our vision statement occurs. Sometimes we fulfill our mission, which is to license blind people, identify suitable sites, and place blind licensees in those opportunities to be able to make a living. That's diminishing, and that's going to continue to diminish. We've already lost one job that I know of, and there will others be following soon. And we're missing a great opportunity to replace all of the jobs that have been lost in the past and will be lost in the future. And that's universities. That is the low-hanging fruit that should be what we use to rebuild our program. There are lots of other things that are possible. There's lots of other ideas out there, but this is the lowest hanging fruit that we have. And there are lots of great opportunities. And a couple of those we've picked up in the last few years, but there's a lot more out there. And one of the biggest parts of that is beverages. And another big part of that is universities where we don't have contracts at all. Like Miami University, Bowling Green University, Wright State University, University of Toledo, and many others. And there's also several big universities where we have snack contracts but no beverages. And that's what I want to get to today. There was a group of 34 operators who got together and hired an attorney to assist us in giving incentive to the Bureau to go after beverages where we don't have them and to not enter into new contracts that don't include beverages at universities. And in advocating for us, the attorney received a a response from the Bureau suggesting that, hey, if you're unhappy with the way things are going, you should talk to the committee because we're following the committee's lead. And if that is true, then I would like today to ask the committee to ensure that those things are being done, to make it their mission moving forward, to ensure that all the opportunities available to us are being sought rigorously. There have been efforts recently, writing letters and so forth, to where we have current contracts to suggest we would like to have the beverage priority. Make sure, committee, please make sure that you're following up on a regular basis, every meeting, and in between meetings. If you've got universities in your area where that's the case, call and get the Bureau to follow up with you and tell you what's going on. Have real conversations. Force the Bureau to have real conversations with you about what's being done, because we need these things. We're entitled to these things. It's the only thing that's going to quickly get us back out of the weeds that we find ourselves in and will find ourselves in moving forward. Please force them today when you have the university update. Make them tell you what's going on. Make them participate with you. Have discussions with you about what's the best way to move forward with these things. Express to them that there are other opportunities out there that they need to be going after, all the other universities that I mentioned earlier. Don't let them get away with not obtaining the priority at all of these places where we don't have them, or we only have it partially. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Derek.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Doug.
I agree with everything that Derek is saying. However, it has been, in the past, it's been difficult to compete at universities where some companies like Pepsi and Coke and even 7-Up are contracted with these places by buying the university big ticket items like scoreboards and such. How do we compete with that? I'm not expecting an answer from you. That's more or less rhetorical for the committee.
Well, the only response I would have to that is that, we don't compete with that. We don't need to compete with that. They can still do their pouring rights agreements with those companies and still get their big ticket items. All we're asking to do is fill the vending machines and be able to establish our businesses. We have no problem with them. At least the committee in the past has had no problem with them still getting into those pouring rights agreements for exclusivity.
Okay.
But we'll talk more about universities here in a little bit.
Right.
The other request for public comment I've had at this point was from Tom Neal. So, Tom?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I actually have two statements I want to touch on. And one of them is, earlier this week, I was asked to prepare some remarks to describe what this program is. And in doing so, the thing that comes to my mind is this is so much more than a program. You use the word a program, and it makes it sound like it's some government-funded gimme that just, it's another one of those boxes you check and another group you hand something to. And the business enterprise program, I hate the word program because it gives those connotations, but it's so much more than a program. It is an opportunity to stretch the limits of what you can do as a small business owner. It's an opportunity to compete on a fair playing field in one sector of the job market, I guess, or the business landscape. And it's an opportunity to get your foot in the door, to be able to provide a service and make a living and support a family and grow a business. And that's a heck of a thing. that there's not many places where blind people can compete equally with the rest of the world. And this is one segment. And sometimes that gets lost in all the discussions about budgets and laws and all that other crap. But this program is us. The Randolph-Shepard Act gives us the opportunity to get in a place. It gets a contract signed, but everything after that point is us. And that's a heck of a thing. And we should all be proud of that. We should all do everything we can. And I'm not saying no one is, but I'm saying when thinking about that this week, it just makes me appreciate this program yet again for all of the things it is and all of the things it accomplishes. And again, I hate the word program, but now moving on to something else, the second topic, in discussing the rules this year, we decided that it would be a great idea if we could get unrepresented areas to be represented by someone who was willing from outside the area, just so that those operators didn't go unrepresented. And I believe the majority of us committee members and the majority of operators I've spoken to think that's a great idea. And it's something that's being worked through the current rules package. But if it's a great idea for the current rules package, then it's a great idea for today. It's a great idea for a policy. And I think we should try to implement that as a policy immediately so that we can achieve the benefits for the people who we were trying to help in the first place. And right now, I don't know how things are going to work out with Dayton and the other areas that didn't have great representation. But I know that there's nothing stopping us from doing it, so let's make it a policy and let's do it today. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thanks, Tom. We can definitely talk about that. If it slips my mind when we get to the anything else part of the rules, make sure you bring that up because that's a very good point. I'll put my 2 cents in where I always hated the word program too, so. And I'll tell you the other word I hate that we use is operator. I never liked the word operator. I always thought we should be referred to as managers or entrepreneurs, and not operator. You know, a lot of states use vendor, and a lot of some states use operator, but I never liked that term that we use in Ohio either. So, but that's neither here nor there. Was there anyone else who wanted to make a public comment? Okay. We will move on then to the manager's reports. Who to pick on first? Amy.
Hello. Does anyone have any questions about my report?
No, I guess not.
Okay.
So, did you have anything else to report or update that you wanted to talk specifically about?
No, I don't. It's all in there, and
okay. All right. Thanks. Sally?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. No, I just wanted to call out some new business that we've attained. A couple sites, Ohio State Highway Patrol in New Philadelphia, Delaware Shooting Range, the Ohio Police Officers Training Academy in Richfield, and then just an update, Cleveland State will be going in there July 1st and 2nd is when we'll install there. So just some new sites for us.
Good.
And other than that, I'm not sure if the 3-year comparison of sales, is that what you were looking for?
I thought it was fine. Did anyone else have any thoughts or anything with that, or?
Madam Chair, it helps us to compare. Sorry, it helps to compare. I liked it because it helped us see where we were before the pandemic, and especially now that we're seeing all pandemic numbers for last year. So I actually like it a lot.
Yeah, I did too. Yeah, it's before, kind of during, and hopefully after. So as things
Right.
start to come on board, we can kind of start seeing things as they start to reopen and start to increase, and hopefully, some of these government places will start to crawl out too. So, okay, anyone have any questions or anything for Sally? Okay, Cynthia? And Cynthia, you may be muted if you're talking. Maybe we lost Cynthia. Okay.
Oh, wait, can you hear me now?
Yes, there you are.
Okay. My report's pretty straightforward. I am working with Cantaloupe, formerly known as USA Tech, to get the training that we need for our staff. I worked with John, who is our new sales rep for our region. He has connected me to their lead person in customer service, and going to try and get a meeting scheduled with them to get what we want and what we need. The other thing I've been working on is polling all the hotels to get information toward our statewide conference. I've been working with the Vaccine Preparedness Office, which is coming to an end, and I believe maybe by the early part of June, I'll be able to leave those duties and be 100% back to being.
Okay.
Madam Chair, may I?
Yes, Tom.
I'd like to address the training of staff and USA Technologies and all that, and I don't know. I guess I'm thinking as I'm talking here, and I'm trying to put this politely, but something is not being communicated properly, and I guess when we have a training person, I would like to think that training person would be the person that would be training people, and it seems like we're opening up the opportunity for lesser quality trainings. If we get USA Tech to train consultants to then work with operators on USA Tech, it would be wonderful if our training coordinator could become familiar with these topics that our operators need assistance with, and then the training coordinator could assist operators in the areas where they need assistance. That way we know that everybody's getting the same level of training, and that everybody is being trained or is being made aware of what's available through the system. If we're going to take a USA Technology person and then have them train 9 consultants or 7 consultants, whatever, and then have those consultants go train operators, consistency is going to be a big problem. Confusion is going to be an issue. So, and I guess I've talked to Cynthia a couple times about it, and I guess I just haven't made clear what my original desire was, and that's that we have a person who is qualified to train other people. And I don't know who that person should be. I would say the training coordinator would probably be a good person to train, but I know the Bureau gets upset when you suggest who does what job, but I think for us to farm that out to consultants and expect a quality product is not only unfair to the consultants, but is a disservice to our operators, because a Cleveland operator may not get the same training that a Cincinnati operator would.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Cynthia.
If I may, and I may have misspoke myself, but when I mean training for staff, I mean everyone, including myself, and excuse me, I'm sure Sally and Christy will be involved as well. If we're going to do this, we might as well get as many people in the room as possible rather than myself as the sole source. You know, I definitely have every expectation of taking that training and then turning around and writing an accessible training that will go into our training for, in-service type training for anyone who needs it. And I am willing to go anywhere and train anyone. But to have a sole source, if there's an emergency, or maybe perhaps an operator feels more confident talking to their consultant, or, you know, if they're talking to them and they happen to say, USA Tech Report did this or that, you know, if the consultants aren't trained as well to understand the terminology, they're really at a disadvantage to not understanding. For me to just get the training and not give the consultants also the opportunity to have that is really kind of, you know, unfair for them and kind of selfish on my part, because, you know, to be honest, I could be hit by a bus tomorrow. I'm just trying to think why. I'm definitely in that. I'm in the front row of that training, but I just want to make it available to anyone who is interested on staff to serve as a backup to a backup. So there's no sole source, so that when I, you know, die or retire, you folks aren't left with a void. So I definitely plan on doing that. I plan on, you know, if I have to go visit people at their work or at their home, when that's allowable, I'll definitely do that. I'm going to put together a training with some drills, and I'm trying to advocate with the provider to get a sandbox environment so that operators can practice in a safe area without feeling like if they make a mistake that they're going to be out of touch with their personal business. So I am trying to advocate to get all the tools that this company offers you folks as their customer. And I keep reminding them, you know, we need this for your customers. I'm trying to help Cantaloupe service their customers. And so I think we're finally getting somewhere by having a meeting with the person who's in charge of those things. So I'm hoping we can get that soon. And then just as another throw out, I'll tell you, I've asked the impossible to see if we can get it. I mean, because you never know until you ask. I invite people to tell me no all the time, because if you don't ask, you don't know what you could have gotten. If we do, and when we do have an in-person statewide, I'm going to try and advocate to have them come to statewide and answer questions on a face-to-face doing 15-minute appointments, because I know some operators don't feel comfortable having other people to type in or enter in or know their user ID or passcode. So kind of like we did with Social Security, to have them come and talk one-on-one about, you know, this is my personal trial with my reports, or this is my concern with my bill, you know, stuff like that. So that way they can get their personal answers addressed. So I'm asking for that, to get them to send someone to Ohio to do that for us. And, you know, the worst they can do is say no, but I'm making the ask.
Okay. Larry had brought up, and you had mentioned statewide, and Larry had asked me about talking about statewide a little bit too. So where are we with statewide, and what's our thoughts here with that?
Christy, do you want to speak to that? I sent you that long list of all the data I pulled together. Do you want to speak to that, Christy? Because I sent you so much information, how much of it was relevant, and I thought
Sure.
maybe you might to go through that and pick out what you thought the committee was really looking for.
Sure, Madam Chair, this is Christy, and I do think we need to definitely probably put this on the agenda next month to come up with some definite decisions going forward. But I believe there was one hotel that we definitely could, the Holiday Inn, we could get space, and they didn't have a cancellation. Like, we wouldn't be like stuck with if anything were to happen where we couldn't get out of it. So I guess we need to discuss and maybe get the work group back together probably before the next meeting to discuss where direction you guys want to go in. Is it going to be like our, you know, in the past, how we've had statewide, where, you know, everyone comes in on a Thursday night, we have speakers on Friday, and then Saturday is the OVRC meeting? You know, is it a full program? Is it a quasi program in November? Is it a half program where Or is it one of those things where everyone comes in for a day, there's no overnight, maybe we can try to do a box lunch, speakers. So you guys we're looking for direction from you guys on what direction you want us to go in. Is it, we do this in November because we do need to get back with hotels and shore up dates. That we do a full statewide this year and then, get back on the May schedule? Do we do some sort of half, a light one this year and then go back to full next May? Again, I'm looking for direction from you guys on what you want, what you think's realistic, but we do need to, depending on what everyone wants, we need to get on it. We need to get on it with the hotel. We need to get on it with getting speakers, maybe lining up Terry Smith, that's part of that NCSAB membership. So that's, I don't know, going back who the committee was for training. Is that Scott Allen? And I think maybe someone else.
I think it was Scott. Was it you? I think it was.
Yep. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, you guys want to get together, we will put it on the agenda for the June meeting then and really have
Madam
a good
Chair?
discussion. Yes.
Sorry. The team viewer for that USA, I meant to say this when we were talking about Cantaloupe, but if we could use team viewer, that hides passwords, and then whoever's helping us won't have to travel around all over the place.
Okay.
And we can be on the phone together just like we are with ERA. If you guys have ever used it with ERA, it's a really useful tool.
Good idea,
for the
Lisa.
Cantaloupe.
Thanks. Thanks, Lisa. That's a good idea. Larry, did you have any other specific things about statewide or?
No. I just wanted to, just remind everybody, with all the restrictions loosening up, maybe we could put one together.
Yeah, I think it'd be great. I do. So we'll let that work group work on it, and we'll definitely hit it hard on the next agenda and really try and come up with a plan.
Madam Chair?
John first, and then Cynthia, I think.
Yeah, I have a quick question for the committee because I'm the one who's working with Scott on that. What does people think about having a 1 day or a 2 day thing for November? I'm just kind of curious.
I'm definitely up for it.
I was gonna say I don't have whatever you guys come up with. I think we'll see what kind of speakers and what kind of thoughts the work group has, and I'm happy either way. So.
Okay, I was just curious. I just want to get some feedback from people a little bit.
Yeah. Cynthia?
Madam Chair, just for the purpose of the records, I just wanted to share that I will go ahead and schedule a meeting with that work group, which I know is Scott Allen and yourself. Is there anyone else to be added to it?
I'd like to be involved, Cynthia.
Yes, sir.
Well,
I was also on it.
Okay, that's probably it. I know Doug usually does he's our food man, so.
That's me.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Let's go on then to universities. The university updates. Christy, do you have or Sally, either one, have any kind of?
Yeah,
report?
Madam Chair, it's Christy. Sally and I and Matt Lampy had a call with University of Cincinnati this past week with their legal counsel. Again, we had been sending letters to them, and they brought it up to their legal counsel, and their legal counsel and Matt got on the phone. So the program people, that our normal grantor was not on the phone call. He made a comment about, expansion of services, and I made it blatantly clear that we want the beverages. We're talking about the beverages. you know, we absolutely will entertain, you know, if they want coffee shops or some other type of services or expansion, but it's the beverages. You know, again, UC has a pouring rights agreement, and I explained to them that just like Kent State and Youngstown, we will honor any pouring rights agreement, but that we want to be filling the machines, and that the law states that we should be filling the machines. So he was going to go back to his program people and tell them this and get back with us. Again, I hear everything that you guys say. I do. And I agree. It's the law. It's absolutely the law. But it's a negotiation too, where I want everyone to, they're not just going to hand it over. It's going to be, I think, a uphill battle with some of them because of the money involved. And I understand where your position is that they can still get their scoreboards and their money and all of that, but they're giving up money, the companies, the bottling, and it doesn't matter. It's the law. It's absolutely the law, and we are pursuing it. With UC, it's complicated by the fact that they have their own people filling it, and why I say it's complicated on their part, not our problem at all, and I explained that they have union people and a union contract. So, but again, that's their problem to figure out. I made it clear that the law says that we should be filling those machines and that the business should be ours. So that was the University of Cincinnati, and he said that he would get back with us after he talked to his program people.
And Christy?
Yeah.
He also said we would arrange a call with all of us again with Saul and Todd, who are the people we usually deal with that handle the vending.
Yep.
Okay.
And I even went as far as saying, you know, I didn't know if people were, you know, possibly laid off from the pandemic. This would be the time for us to go in and take over. If they have any pending, you know, retirements, that even if we take over part of the route right now, I mean, I was very clear on that. So, but yeah, we're going to have a follow-up call. It's not scheduled yet, but we will ping them and get that scheduled. We have a call with Akron, I think 2 weeks, 2 weeks from now, we have a call with Akron. And again, Akron reached out and was asking about the law. I explained the law to them. I sent them the AG. I followed up with them to answer additional questions and to bring clarity. So that's where we are with Akron. CSU, they're giving us the stiff arm. They're still ignoring us. Again, we have an executed agreement with them for snacks. It's supposed to start in July, and that doesn't mean that we're giving up on the beverages. We are, but it's not a part of that BGA right now. And we did work with you guys at OVRC on that, on, you know, do we blow it up or do we at least continue with the snacks? And that was the route that everyone agreed on. So that's where we are with that. The University of Toledo, I think everyone, main campus, agreed that we would go after both pop and snack beverages, the whole thing, when it's up in 2024. I think that was the date. The consultants have been reaching out, and Sally, you might want to fill in too, to all of the other universities like the Miamis, the Bowling Greens, finding out who's running it, when their contracts are up, so then we can put them in line and go after them. Is that right, Sally? Do I have that right?
Yes.
And I don't know if you want to, if anyone has specific questions about specific. I know like Bill's been reaching out to, what was it, Cincinnati,
Shawnee State, Miami University, yeah.
Yep, and I know Lynn with Bowling Green, but each consultant was reaching out to all of the colleges and universities in their area.
Madam Chair.
I can tell you, yeah.
No, I'm sorry,
Okay.
Madam Chair. I thought Christy was done speaking. I'll wait until she's finished.
I am.
Okay, Tom?
I just wanted to make a statement because it's in the past our own meeting minutes have been used to kind of, I guess, to indicate where the committee stands on a particular issue. So I want to clarify something. There were some remarks made during the public comment section as well about pouring rights agreements and all that. I believe that if we were to ever go in front of a judge and explain that a pouring rights agreement is essentially a university telling us what bottler we will do business with, therefore locking us into the pricing that that vendor chooses to, and when I say vendor, that beverage distributor chooses to put us in, I believe would be struck down. I don't believe that a pouring rights agreement is something that can bind us. I believe it puts us in an unfair position in some instances, because not only do the universities get preferential pricing that we're not eligible for, but we still have to follow the pouring rights agreement. In some places, they try to put planograms and such. Pouring rights agreements have been used in the past to push me out of certain segments of the beverage business because the bottler refused to sell me a particular package size. So I don't want any future people coming back to take a look at this meeting minutes or any other meeting minutes in which the committee says we're not arguing about pouring rights. Pouring rights are a big deal. Pouring rights are something that we may eventually have to fight. We've chosen now to try and be a good partner and just try to get the business and focus on these things in the future. However, these are detrimental to our operators' success. These are, if we allow pouring rights agreements to give us unfavorable terms, these could harm us in the future. But for today, we're hoping to be able to partner with universities, provide the service of filling the actual equipment, and we're not making a case about the actual legal efficacy of forcing us to pay a vendor's price or a bottler's price for their product just because the university signed an agreement. And Madam Chair, I understand right now everybody's like, okay, get to the point. That is the point. That could eventually be a point. That this could eventually be something that comes up in a hearing. And I just want to make it clear that we're not saying you can't serve Coca-Cola. We're not saying you have to start serving Pepsi tomorrow or I can sell whatever I want to sell. We're just saying we want to fill your vending machines. But I want us to be careful and be willing to say you can't make us sell Coca-Cola if Coca-Cola or Pepsi continues to push us into unfavorable locations or unfavorable areas where we're charged more than the other providers on campus, where a bookstore is buying a bottle of soda for 60 cents and we're paying 87. How are we going to price competitively? And with that, Madam Chair, I yield the floor back. Thanks for letting me say my piece.
Thanks,
Madam
Tom.
Chair,
Yes.
Chair, can I respond to that? I hear you, Tom, but that frustrates me. The whole statement really frustrates me, because then I feel like we are negotiating in bad faith, because we're going in there, and what I have heard people say, not all committee members, but what I've heard people say is, Christy, we will honor the pouring rights agreement. What you're saying now is you don't want us to go in and say that, which is fine. I need to know that up front, because here's what they're going to hear. Okay, not only do you guys get this by law, we get it, but you aren't obligated, and we should not obligate the operators, because right now I'm very apprehensive to obligate operators for anything ever again in a VGA. So again, their motivation is not only do we have to take you guys by law, which it is, they do, they absolutely do. There's no doubt about it. I 100% agree with it. But it jeopardizes their scoreboards and all of their stuff that they could get from the pouring rights. We've got to be very careful. And I think as a committee and as a program, we have to figure out together what is our strategy on this. Like, what is our plan? And if you guys have apprehension of us going in and saying to universities, because I was under the belief that everyone was like, yeah, we will follow it. And if there's, trepidation on that, please let me know right now, because I think it is in bad faith if I go to a university and say, hey, we see that you have Coke, we will follow that. I will tell you, in one case up at University of Toledo, the pouring rights agreement changed in mid-flow, and we fought for that operator, and we were exempted from the pouring rights in that case. But most of these pouring rights agreements are 10, 15 years. They're 80 million, 50 million, $40 million. And if we are going to go in and say that we'll follow it and then sue after we say no, we have no legal authority to follow it, or we shouldn't follow it, that makes me nervous, guys. I'll just be perfectly honest.
Madam
Chair, may I respond to that, since it was a direct
Go
response to my
ahead,
statement?
Tom, and then Larry.
This concerns me greatly, because if we're going to say that we're going to uphold an agreement we don't have any input on, that's crazy. We're not, or I would say nobody in their right mind would say we will agree to uphold your pouring rights agreement, although we have no standing whatsoever to negotiate that agreement. We have no control over anything that ends up in that agreement. And just to put a finer point on this, the price of bottled water that I used to purchase from Pepsi, from Sam's Club, I was locked into a pouring rights agreement where they told me I had to buy it from Pepsi, and the price went up 300% on that item. And not only that, they refused to sell me the packaging that I had, so they completely pushed me out of that segment, which cost me about $20,000 a year in sales of that particular product line. If Pepsi were to come to us tomorrow and say, hey, we have a pouring rights agreement with Christie State here, and we're going to charge you $50 a case for Pepsi, and you're going to pay it, we would be nuts to say, yeah, sure, we're going to agree to that. So when I say we should say that for today we're not arguing with pouring rights agreements, that's what I mean. But I'm not saying that we're negotiating in bad faith. I'm saying that right now, those pouring rights agreements are a necessary evil. We have to deal with them because we don't want to make too big of an issue. But if those pouring rights continue to be unfavorable to us and hurt our operators, we should absolutely be willing to say, you can't force us into you're forcing us into a place where we can't compete, and you're driving us out of entire segments of the beverage market, and we're not going to allow that to happen. And Madam Chair, with that, I yield it back.
Okay, Larry, and then
I'm completely for pouring rights. We all sell Pepsi, we all sell Coke. If we just have to sell one of them, no big deal. I think we're asking a whole lot for a university to rip the Coca-Cola. It doesn't make sense. I know Tom has a couple of extreme examples. Maybe you could work with the Pepsi vendor and straighten those out. But to just strip the pouring rights away from a giant university, come on, we're asking way too much. Enough is enough.
Yeah, I tend to agree with what Larry just said. That I get what Tom's saying, but Randolph Shepherd, we get pricing. They should, the pop company should charge what you get charged for other Randolph Shepherd facilities, whether it's on a university or not. If there's not, then we gotta somebody move up the line and get some higher ups involved in that. And I know Pepsi's a little trickier because there's regional bottlers and stuff like that we deal with, but just because someone's on a university that's living up to a pouring rights agreement, they shouldn't be charged an exorbitant amount compared to other Randolph Shepherd operators in the area.
Madam Chair,
that's there too. Derek, well, Frank first, then Derek.
Oh, Derek was actually.
I know, but
I just wanted to say that Tom's example, the example that Tom gave, and I know that one of the branch campuses where our operator in Cincinnati out at UC Claremont does have the pop, and even when we used to have an open counter down on main campus for a snack bar, those operators got to buy Pepsi at UC pricing, which was cheaper than Randolph Shepherd pricing I don't think it was by much. It was by $1 or $2 or something like that. But, and I think that's the point Tom was making, that, you know, if we're doing business on campus, that they shouldn't be, Pepsi or the university shouldn't be locking an operator out of the same deals they're giving the university. And I'm saying the same thing Tom did. But, you know, the pouring rights agreement, it's a strategic move right now. I see what Tom's saying. I think we all hear him. But at the same time, for the here and now and probably into the future, like he said, it's a strategic move, and it's a necessary move that we need to make to grow and rebuild this program. And I'm just glad to hear that our program's working on it on the management side, and I'm hopeful they will keep the pressure on and keep the pressure up, and the committee should do the same thing. Thanks.
Thanks. Derek?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I want to say when we talk about pouring rights agreements and willing to work with them, we mean we're willing to work with their exclusivity. That's it. Nothing else. And the other thing is, these pouring rights, we talk about them as if pouring rights agreements on universities only deal with vending. That's not only deal with vending machines. That's not true. For example, Christy threw out the $80 million number. I think that's OSU. That $80 million contract with Coke isn't all vending. That's all the Coke that's sold on the campus at all of the events and all of the venues and blah, blah, blah. Only a few $1 million of that is actual vending. So we're not having any giant impact on their pouring rights agreement by just taking over the vending. And we are willing to accept exclusivity, but like Tom says, we're not willing to lock ourselves into planograms and pricing structures and all of that. We want to operate as Randolph Shepherd vendors, but we will allow the exclusivity to occur because in some ways that's a benefit to us. It's a good deal if all you have to carry is one brand of pop, because nobody else is going to be competing with you anyway, and it's better to only have to deal with one than 2 or 3 or 4 bottlers or whatever. So that's what we're talking about. And I do appreciate what Tom's saying, but we've got to make sure that we don't get into those kinds of things. We're only interested in being exclusive with their contract. That's it, nothing else.
Madam Chair, 60 seconds, please.
Okay.
I don't want my original statement to get lost. I'm not suggesting today that we get rid of pouring rights agreements. What I am suggesting is when we as a committee say we're okay with pouring rights agreements, we choose our words more carefully, because there may be a day when we are forced into litigation to argue the pricing or the corner we're being pushed into by a pouring rights agreement. And if this committee is went on record as saying we have no problem with pouring rights agreements, that could hurt us in the future. So my original statement, to boil it down to its essentials, is today we don't mind pouring rights agreements. In the future, hopefully you don't make us mind them, but if there's something that we have to fight, we should fight it. And with that, Madam Chair, I think I've been as clear as I can possibly be on the subject, and I'll leave it be.
Okay. Did anyone have any other questions about university, the report that was made? I was happy to see we've gone past the letter writing to the phone calls and meeting stage.
Madam
yes.
Chair?
Did I hear Doug? Or I heard Doug.
You did.
Go ahead, Doug.
Okay. I was just wanting to ask Christy if you folks have approached Columbus State with a proposal for vending.
Madam Chair, we have not right now. We're gathering that information, and again, they will definitely be on our list.
Great. Thank you.
And I know we have some things with some Columbus State branches. I do know there's a little bit. I don't actually know if we have BGA signed or if they're part of some other stuff, but so we're kind of sort of with Columbus State, but yeah, main campus is where it's at. Frank?
Yeah, Madam Chair. Two questions. With Cleveland State regarding the beverages, and with Christy said that Cleveland State's not responding or, giving them the cold shoulder, whatever you want to call it. I guess I'm going to ask, what is their next move with that? to keep that process in motion. And then the other comment I had was related to Columbus State. I know back in 2015 or so, maybe 16, that somewhere in there, Columbus State was being looked at, or they wanted to give us like a couple of just sites with the snack machines or something, and the committee had said, no, we're not, we want all of it or nothing. And I know Anissa had told me or both of us at the time that Columbus State is a political powerhouse. I don't know how politically powerhouse they are, but anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there just so everybody heard everything. And that doesn't mean we couldn't be talking to them and trying, to see where we can move the needle as well. So that's everything I have. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
I don't hear John, and was it Greg?
It was Greg.
Mine's really quick.
Okay. Go ahead, John.
You heard both of us.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say I'm really glad that the Bureau is done a 360 on this stuff, because several years ago they didn't necessarily agree with the AG's interpretation, and I'm just happy to see that things have really changed in the last few years on this.
Good. Greg?
Good morning, everybody. Thanks, Madam Chair. So yeah, the Cleveland State, it's now legal, reaching out to their legal, and with a phone call and a follow-up on some of our requests, and then we'll give them a short period of time, and then we can talk about elevating from there on Cleveland State. So we got the lawyer on it, and trying to force the conversation to happen. So that's where we're at with Cleveland State. Columbus State, I don't know about the political powerhouse piece. I haven't heard that. But we will, we've got our list of the colleges and universities and working through it. And, we can certainly add them on there and start reaching out as we get some other ones online and some capacity to open up some new conversations and see where they're at. And then I guess the other part, I don't know about the branch campuses like you were referring to, Annette, but we can look at that as well, because and see what we've got or don't have with any of those.
Well, the biggest reason, and John, you may actually know this better than I do, and I should know it because I'm assigned to it. I know I do some things for Columbus State at OU Dublin, but I don't know that Columbus State has a signed agreement, or if it's just because it's sucked in with Dublin.
I don't think so.
Yeah. But I know
I know they
Columbus
like us over there, and I know we have
big contingency there. So,
yeah.
But
I think it's under the same BJA as
the Dublin
OU,
one.
though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only one I've seen, so I wasn't sure how that worked. But
Madam Chair,
Sally?
I was just going to say that you're correct. It is all lumped under there. I think originally, I don't know that Columbus State was there maybe at first, but they
weren't.
Came in relatively soon. So it was just lumped in there.
Okay. Frank?
Yeah. A question for Sally or Christy, and that is, Sally, I just wanted to find out if Cincinnati State was on that list that the consultants were checking on in this area. And then the other statement was, we talk about checking on when contracts expire and I'm just going to say, if it works out, that's fine. If the timing works out to where it expires and then we take over, but I don't believe we have to wait though.
So, Madam Chair, so
go ahead.
When we get these contracts, we look at them. When we say, is there an out clause? Is there an out clause? And a lot of them have out clauses. And so then that's when we approach them and say, you have an out clause in your thing, so you need to go forward. Contract law, and I'm not a lawyer here. I think Ethan's on the phone. But going in and saying, you need to break your contract. I don't know the legality in that. The other thing that we're keeping track of right now too, and a much better job of doing so, is if we have gone to them and said, you know, this is ours, and then they get into a contract, I think that's a little different than, okay, we don't have proof that we went to them, and yes, they should have known the law anyway. But to go in there and say and to demand, you have to break your existing contract, I don't know the answer to that, Frank. I'll follow up with Matt.
I don't know either that we could do that. And the reason why we always talked about going when contracts became available was financially as well. Because it kind of paced things out for our own program for setting up facilities and you know, maybe doing one this year and another 2 next year and, you know, stuff like that. So I know that was part of the thought behind that.
Well, Madam Chair, the only thing I will say is, and I hear you, Christy, and we should check on it, but all we're asking them to do is to follow the law, and they're, you know, they're already in, at least from the program perspective, or from my perspective, they're already violating it, or in violation of it, since, especially if we already have a snack agreement there. And it is expensive if we have to go in and do snack machines. If it's a pouring rights agreement and we're using, you know, branded equipment, that shouldn't be that expensive to our program. At least I wouldn't think so. Thanks, Madam Chair.
No, that wouldn't. I had a couple of questions, a couple of them in your update that we didn't hear about. Last I heard with Ohio University Athens, we kind of had a good meeting going with them, and they were going to look at you know, what we could do to expand there. Has there been any more movement at that university?
Madam Chair.
Yeah, go, Sally.
Yes, last we met with them, they are going to start talking about their next set of contracts in the fall. So we had planned to meet with them again. We've got it on our calendars to ping them around August so we can begin those conversations. Okay.
And then the other one that we talked about before was Owens, where the contract that they have currently with their beverage provider included this that grill that they were so fond of, and the fact that it was closed.
Madam Chair,
I know that
Lynn
they said they were going to reopen that grill, but the committee really was on board with, if that grill closed, that we would be able to go to them and negotiate to do the beverages there. So any update there?
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
Lynn did reach out to them, and they responded quicker than they've ever responded about anything else, but they do plan to reopen for the fall. So Lynn is, you know, we're going to make sure to visit there frequently to make sure it is open.
Okay. And I knew that. I just wanted the committee to to hear where we were with that and know that we were definitely following up on that. Because if that grill can't sustain, then there's no reason why someone else should have the beverage there. My third question was, when you do these meetings with the universities, would it be helpful to have an OVRC person as part of that talk as well? I think it would be helpful. You know, for the
Madam
local
Chair, it's
area.
Greg.
Yes, Greg.
So this is, you know, I understand the committee's and operators' viewpoint on this, and I get where you guys are coming from, but you know, this is our discussion about the BGA and getting on campus and what we can do, and we prefer to keep our practice the way it is right now with us talking to them. If we feel there's a good need or a time where we want to bring somebody in, I think, you know, we would be open to that, but as a practice, we're going to keep it how we're doing it currently.
Okay. I know in the past there was practices that we've had OVRC members in these types of meetings before. So what I'm bringing up is not a new concept.
And Madam Chair, I get it, and I see it. You know, there might be good times for that, so I want to keep that option open. But you know, for right now, I think we'll continue how we're doing it, and when we see it's a good opportunity or the time to bring an operator in that might be helpful, you know, I want to leave that open that we can do it. But and I don't disagree. There's probably going to be times in meetings where that will be helpful, and having the local rep or you know, an operator from the area in that meeting, absolutely. But as a practice, as we're initiating the contact and getting the negotiations off the ground, I would prefer to keep it how we're doing it currently.
Mm-hmm. Did anyone have anything else with universities?
Derek?
Yes, Derek.
Is there a plan to, at some point, if you get to a place with a university where they're no longer willing to negotiate and have absolutely stated you're not getting the beverages here, is it the Bureau's intention to ask for a 119 hearing to get that taken care of?
Madam Chair, I can
Chair.
answer that.
Oh, go ahead, Christy.
I believe our intention was to bring that to the committee for a vote to bring it to a 119. We would absolutely, before making that decision, we would bring it to you guys and explain. And just like we've done, we did that with suitability with UT, and we've come to you with other options and where we're at to be, you know, fully transparent. And I think that we all need to be on the same page and as a unified force to go forth and do that.
Okay. Any other thoughts or questions?
Derek?
Yes, Derek.
Yes, never mind. I'll leave it for another time. Yep.
Okay. Excuse me. All right. Let's move on then. This may be quick or it may take a while. I don't know. These temp agreements. We have about 5,000 of them to deal with here.
Madam Chair, I wanted to jump back to universities for a
Okay, I'm
second.
sorry.
Go ahead, Frank. Or if we could do this, or if you want to do this later in the agenda, that's fine too. We need to talk about these par-level card readers at the University of Cincinnati.
Oh, no, we can do that now before we move on to the temp.
And I don't know who's responsible to get well, let me back up for just a second and say this is no one's, at this point, this is no one's fault. This is, you know, everybody could blame everybody else, but that's not going to get us anywhere. My concern is, like, we have one facility down there, which is a smaller facility, 409, and one of its main money generating buildings, the whole building doesn't get any signal. And I know we've tweaked the UC agreement, and I tried to look for it, but I no longer have it in my email because of what happened back in April with the hack and everything. But I know at one point under the agreement, UC was responsible to, I guess, maintain these card readers or make sure they were working or whatever. But my concern is, as we move towards summer and then fall and everything reopening, and there are some other facilities down there that still have major card readers with no signal as well. And I don't know if our program needs to go to UC and say, hey, you know, you guys need some way, somehow, got to get these working. Because I don't think we want operators opening back up in the fall. And then, and those card readers, by the way, at universities, at least at UC, are about somewhere between 70 and 80% of the sales. So if they're not working, you know, the operator's not hardly making any money. So I know Bill's worked on this. I think Christy and Sally have worked on this. But if it's on UC side, I don't know what else we can do, but we need to try and find some way to have UC to get these card readers operational to where, to where the operator's making money and therefore the program is making money. I'm not sure where we go with it. I was just kind of asking for some suggestions, or see if Christy or Sally or anybody had any thoughts on anything else we can try to resolve this. And I had talked to Bill several weeks ago, and it was a good conversation. I just wanted my memory refreshed on it, because this has been going on for almost 2 years. Well, October, November, it'll be 2 years. And I think everybody's kind of stuck on how do we get this fixed. But like Facility 409, I'm like, I don't really want to post that until we can find a resolution to get that one building, the card reader situation straightened out, so that whoever goes in there isn't behind the 8 ball, and they will have, they'll be able to make money, hopefully. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there and see if we can figure out a plan to get this addressed and resolved.
Madam Chair.
Yeah, go ahead, Tom.
This isn't to Frank's point, and I don't want to cut off any answer Frank may be receiving. But I did want to ask, or I guess just get clarification. When we go to universities and start talking about opportunities that are on the campus, do we involve the consultant? Because I know in the past we kind of, it was a management and legal thing, but the consultant is the most familiar. The consultant has the relationships already with the grantor, and I'm just wondering, are we involving consultants in the discussions with the university about expanding our services? And if we're not, have we considered maybe we should?
Well, put that on hold just 1 second, Tom. We don't want dueling topics here. That's
Madam
a very
Chair?
good question. Sally, yeah.
Yes, I wanted to answer Frank's question about the UC card readers. Bill reached out to UC at the end of April, specifically about DAP, which is the building that Frank's referring to that has a lot of sales but no signal. So UC has been testing a new antenna, and they think part of the problem could be it dexing, the card readers dexing, and they are working with Card Level as well, and they are loaning us their new antenna to see if it will work in DAP specifically. So hopefully we'll get some good results there, but it is still being worked on, yes.
Okay, I'm hoping we can find a solution, and I know, like Frank said, it's nobody's fault, but I'm glad to hear that there's some movement on it, that there's not a point that comes where we just wash our hands of it and say, I can't figure it out and move on. So we'll keep trying and hopefully get that worked on. Tom's point, the question he asked, when you do have these conversations, like when you were on the phone with University of Cincinnati, are the consultants involved? Especially when you get to the point of, maybe when it was just legal on the last call, but especially when you get to the point where you're talking with the actual grantor contacts and bring them on board. Since they're the people they know.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Greg.
It's Greg. Yeah, so as with anything, it depends on the level of the conversation, what the topic is, who's in the call, but we always involve the appropriate people, and many times it is the consultants because they are on the ground, they have the relationships, they can speak specifics to if there is an issue or, starting some of these conversations because they have about expanding, they have the relationship. So, as always, we involve the consultants when it's appropriate, and we recognize that they're usually our best sources of information and a good way to keep the process moving forward, especially if we're moving along and it's going well. It quickly turns when we have an agreement to, okay, how do we roll this out? So we involve all the appropriate parties. at the right time during these conversations.
Okay. And do we have any other university? Or follow? Okay. These temp agreements. I imagine the majority of them, unless somebody feels very strongly differently, are just going to be continued. But we want to make sure that we're not throwing out something that shouldn't be with that. So I don't know if we want to just kind of look through the list and see if we want to parse any of them out. If we think it's appropriate to bid out any of the facilities or the sites at this point, or if we just want to continue them, past June 30th, the temps. My personal opinion is the majority of them will probably be continued, but we can go through the list and see if that's appropriate for all of them, or if the committee feels differently.
Madam Chair.
Should be bid out. Yes, Doug.
Yeah, I've gone through the list, and I believe last meeting I asked for some additional information, and I received that, and I thank you folks for that. I have identified 2 locations that jumped right out at me that could be put out for permanent occupation now that we're in a position that the state is beginning to come back online. One of those was ODOT 488, and the other was a location in Building 21 at DCSC. I think we should, my opinion is that we should probably entertain those for permanent occupation. And specifically to the 5 people that are on the bench, if that's at all possible.
Why don't we go through the list, top to bottom, and we're not going to make motions, I don't think, for every one of them, because we'll be here until Tuesday if we do that. But we can at least say, let's keep the temp going on this and kind of make the list on what we want to do. And if we want to parse out any of them to deal with separately, we can do that. So, Sally, do you have the list available?
Madam Chair, I do.
Kind of read them off, okay? And anyone just speak up if you have a feeling about it, or especially if it's in your area and you know something about it, other than just extending the temp. If it should be, go ahead and post it. You do the facilities first, Sally, that we're calling facilities at this point.
Okay. The first one is facility 408, which is University of Cincinnati. We call it Clifton East. That is Patrick Pugh's old facility.
I don't know if we're ready to bid it. Yeah, Frank?
If you see if they're going to go back to in-person classes in the fall, I think that facility 408, from having conversations with Patrick in the past, I know he had like 3 or 4 card readers down in that facility, but he said they were slower machines, so he wasn't that, he wasn't that concerned about it. But I think, I don't know what the rest of the committee thinks, and I don't know what the colleges are going to look like in the fall, but that one, I kind of lean towards at some point posting over the summer, and to where somebody could transition in if we want to post it maybe in late July or early August.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Scott.
So Frank, are you talking about posting that as a full facility? Because I'm looking at the numbers for, I know we're expecting the numbers to grow, but from what I'm seeing from just 21, we're only talking about a net of, in excess of $500 a month. So like I said, are you asking about a facility or is a site attachment?
Well, we would need the sales from
or 2018, Scott. The 2020-21 year is goofy. The other thing is, I'm not going to participate in a vote on that because the temp there is Dave is the temp. So I'm going to open that up to the rest of the committee. That was just my thoughts on it. So I'm going to be quiet now.
Either way, and we can kind of star this one. Either way, we're going to have to extend the temp past June 30th.
Yeah,
because
that's true. That's true.
We'll never be able to get it posted and assigned and all that by then anyway. So for now, I guess we just make a note there of it. And Sally, if you can make notes I know it'll be the minutes, but it may be helpful to have notes right there that we look at posting that later this summer. But go ahead and keep that on the list to extend. Yes. Who was that?
It was Scott.
Oh, Scott. Okay.
So do you feel that any of the facilities or sites could actually be posted and transitioned before the end of June?
No, that's true. That's a good point. So
I mean, if that's the
most
case,
of these are probably going to have to be extended past June 30th. That's true.
Just extend them all and then deal with this later.
Yeah.
Madam Chair.
Yes, John.
I think we need to at least extend them all to July, but I think that there are a couple that we should at least consider bidding out after, between now and the end of July.
Okay. Well, we can do that. That's probably a good point because you guys are right. Well, none of them will be able to be completed and transitioned by July 1st at this point. So.
But Madam Chair, I strongly feel that there's a few that really should be bid out.
Okay.
I do as well.
Like for example, OSU Route 1, I think should be bid out. As one example. I don't agree with Doug on doing the building 21 at the base because that still needs more work. But
Madam
okay.
Chair.
Yes, Scott.
To Doug's and John's inquiries about that facility 511, I don't really feel, being that now I will preface it by the fact that I am the temp operator for that right now, but as the rep, we are planning on making alterations to the number of operators that are on the base and reconfiguring, basically dissolving 511 upon the committee's full approval of it, and then dispersing that among the remaining operators that are there on the base because of the diminished population that is anticipated. And we can't really do anything with that until one of the operators, fully resigns from the base. I think it's facility 487. Once that operator resigns, then at that point, because it's a vacancy, we can reconfigure that particular facility.
Yeah, I agree with Scott too. I'm a little familiar with some of that, and that one's not ready to be posted because there's too many unanswered questions out there on the base. And Scott's right that those decisions still need to be made about what's going to happen out there. So,
and Madam Chair, this
yes,
is Christy, and I hear you. Again, I'm just past precedents. What we've done once decisions are made is that we post facilities, even existing ones. We post them, and then if no one bids on it, then we go back to the committee, and it's generally like we break it up. We post it as a site. Again, we got to be careful where we can only reconfigure if all entities are vacant, right? Correct?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Scott.
To my understanding, if there's a vacancy, we can reconfigure that particular facility. And if we decide to parcel that particular temp among the remaining operators, then it would be by volunteer. Basically, we would offer a particular building or bank of machines to an operator, and then they have the right to accept or deny. Is that, am I correct in that,
We
Madam
gotta
Chair?
watch that. We gotta watch that. That's not typically how we've done things. That's something we'll have to talk about. Just
That's not my
can't think
rule.
things. Yeah, we can't just do that. So yeah, that's something we'll definitely have to talk about, what to do with that, because obviously these are unique times. Under normal circumstances, we would have probably all screamed and shouted that these things should go out for bid, and it's a vacant facility, we got to put it out. We do to some extent, but we gotta. These are very unusual times, that is for sure. So,
Madam Chair.
yeah, yes.
Hey, don't we kind of need to establish some actual sales, post-pandemic type numbers before we can put it out with a question mark?
Yeah, I think so. I think that out there at the base, there are way too many questions still. That I'm with Scott on that one. We'll have to figure out a plan for that, but there's no way we can post anything out there right now. You're absolutely correct there. So let's get back to this list. Maybe we need to do a general motion to go ahead and extend these, for a couple of months, to give us a chance to determine which ones should get posted, which ones should get figured out, and all of that. Because the point that was brought up that none of them's going to be able to be transitioned by June 30th is it's a very valid one.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Doug.
just for clarity's sake, so you're talking about extending these for a 30-day period, basically? Question?
Yeah. 30
Madam
or
Chair.
up to 60 days, maybe we do. Yes, Tom.
Well, I was going to say, since they're temp agreements and they can be canceled at any time, why don't we do like 3 months, and then that gives us time to work them out. And if there's something that needs to go out sooner, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, that's what I say. Well, let's not tie our hands too tight here. Tom's right. They can be canceled at any time. So maybe you take them to September 30th, and then we have time to figure out what to do with them as individuals. Some may go out for bid right away, and some of them may not.
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
John first, and then I think it was Sally.
Yeah.
It was Doug. Doug was before Sally.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear Doug.
So if we decide, does it have to be the full committee, or does it have to be the local selection committee that decides what to do with those?
I think at that point, the full committee's obligated to extend the temps. But I think when it gets to the individual locations, the full committee doesn't need to do that unless we get into the whole reconfiguring and switching things around and doing that type of stuff. Then it's the full committee. But if it's just, let's go ahead and post this, the local committee can do that.
Okay, thank you.
Doug?
Yeah, I just wanted to make the comment or point this out to the committee that my concern is for these 5 people that are sitting on the bench that haven't even had opportunity to bid on something in 14 months or longer. I know the rules are the rules, but, is there any way that we can target these 5 people to get them to, back to work through this? And also, too, could we put 2 or 3 of the smaller operations that aren't standalone, put them together as a vending route?
Yeah, that's the type of things we're going to really have to consider. And I think John's point was correct. We do it on the local basis that we can do, but to some extent. It's reconfiguring an existing facility that requires the full committee. That definitely does. Or extending a temp requires the full committee. But we can do some things. Like if, for example, you guys in Columbus decide to post ODOT, you can go ahead and do that. The committee doesn't need to weigh in on that. You can go ahead and post that. And as it's already an established facility, if you believe that it's good for posting, go ahead and post it. Sally?
Yes, Madam Chair, I was just going to say, to Tom's point, could I just have these extended through the end of the year? And like I said, we can always end them at any time, but just so that we're not having to go get multiple BTOAs.
I have no problem with that. It gives time, and a lot of them probably won't be done until then, so.
Right.
Is everybody good with that? We probably need a motion, though, because this is a by rule thing that the committee's required to.
I'll make a motion
Okay, Larry?
that we extend the current temp facilities out for another 6 months.
Second.
Okay, Tom?
6 months.
Well,
That
isn't that how
doesn't
long
mean-
they are?
Yeah, yes. That doesn't mean they'll last that long, Doug.
Okay.
That just gives us the leeway to be able to do stuff with them.
Okay.
I said, even with that motion, that's nothing to stop them from going out for bid tomorrow.
Right.
So
Okay.
it just allows us to be able to temp them.
Gotcha.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Okay, we'll call for the vote. Larry?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Jim? Uh-oh. Frank?
Yes.
Jim, are you there? Or Keith? Did Keith come on?
Jim's here. Yes, sorry.
Okay, Jim. Okay, good. Was that a yes vote, Jim?
I believe that was a yes vote in that.
Okay, I heard him say Jim's here. Sorry.
I voted yes. I apologize. Yes.
Okay, thanks. All right, well, that passes. And then kind of everybody work in your local areas to figure out, what some of the best things to do over the next, period of time with each of those. Can we put some of them together to make facilities? Is it way too early to tell? Should they be posted right now? Or right away? Those type of things can we work locally when you do your local meetings and
Madam Chair, I will add to that as we go forward with this, we have to be aware and careful. We don't want and I understand Doug wanting new people to have an opportunity to get to work. We all want that. But at the same time, we don't want to throw them into the middle of this, I'll call it chaos for lack of a better word, and, have them not. I mean, there are those of us who have been doing this for years, and through this pandemic, we've faced challenges that we've never seen before. We're like, well, wait a minute, how the heck do we do this? So, we just have to make sure it's a good facility and make sure it's going to be able to stand on its own, so that we don't put new people in a bad position. That's all I was trying to say. Thanks.
Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more, Tom. Frank.
Okay. Got that done. We got a couple kind of housekeeping things to take care of that's pandemic related and that we've been kind of putting off with the rules. The first one is semi-annual inventories. We have not required the last couple. What do we want to do for the June semi-annual inventory?
Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, I don't think we should count it.
I agree. I don't think we should count it.
Okay, then we probably should do a motion that we
Madam
not
Chair?
require operators to submit a semi-annual inventory for June.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Did you make the motion?
No, I can't make a motion. I was
I
just
thought
saying.
not. So I will make that motion in your supporting your language.
Is there a second?
How about that?
I will
That'll
second.
work. Thank you, Scott. Kim, did you actually get that? Kim? Uh-oh. You're muted if you're talking, Kim. Oh. Christy, do you know if we lost Kim?
Can you hear me, Annette?
There you are. Okay, now I can.
Okay, it didn't work the first time. My apologies. So I had started writing and then Doug went up, but you said that you wanted us to make a motion that stated we do not want to require a June inventory.
Yeah, the June semi-annual inventory, and it was Doug's motion and Scott seconded it.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you. All right, any discussion on that? Tom, would you?
Madam Chair.
Yes. Amy?
Yes, it's Amy. Can we make sure to put, like, we're going to get out information to operators to, even though they're not actually doing a inventory, to click that in their MOR?
Oh, yeah, you can do that. I don't think that needs to be part of the motion, but yeah, you guys can do that part, to ask operators to click the actual as opposed to the estimated
Okay,
button.
perfect.
Yeah. Any other discussion? Okay, we'll call for the vote. Doug?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Frank?
Yes.
And Jim?
Yes.
Okay. Passes. Now I think we need to extend without getting too much discussion on it. We have this thing where we have not considered people late for transitional fees, initial inventory, all that type of fees, until the end of June. We might want to extend that.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Tom.
I move that we continue the extensions of the waiving and penalties for lates and inventory shortages until the end of this year.
I will second.
Okay, Scott. Is there any discussion on that?
I'd like to have just one moment, if I may.
Yes.
Just for anyone listening and wondering why this is occurring, the Bureau has said that pretty soon there will be some things happening with the FRP funds, and there'll be some future discussion about other topics. And I think it's in everyone's best interest for us to extend this the next couple months.
Okay. Any more discussion? All right, we'll call for the vote. Tom?
I suppose yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Frank?
Yes.
And Jim?
Yes.
Okay. The other one are goals. In the new rules, we don't have them, but we have them in the current rules. we have been using 0 as people's established goals and selections. And it's time here shortly that goals are going to need to be established for the next fiscal year. So do we want to extend not counting goals, honestly, until the new rules are codified and just not deal with goals anymore? I mean, to be in all honesty, if we do them for a few months, then the rules are going to be codified and they're basically going away now. So,
Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
One of you, go ahead. Tom, I think, was in first.
I move that we continue the practice of leaving all goals at 0.
I'll second.
I guess I will say until the end of the year. I apologize, Frank, because I didn't put a time frame and I should have.
Okay.
I second that motion.
Well, Frank kind of was seconding. Y'all can arm wrestle over it.
Okay.
I think Frank got it in, though, Doug. Thank you, though.
You're welcome.
Any discussion on that?
Once again, Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes.
I know this frustrates some people, and some people feel that this practice should come to an end. But it's not fair to operators who won't have the ability to generate any type of goals. If we were to institute them now, a significant portion of our operators would be at a disadvantage because of their current. Rest area operators would be great. People in office buildings and universities would be hurt by this. Therefore, that's why I made the motion.
Yeah, and the people who would be hurt by it the most would probably be the ones who are in the biggest need of making a transition. So, absolutely. Any more discussion? Okay, for the vote, Tom?
Yes.
Frank?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
And Jim?
Yes.
Okay. All right, let me find my agenda. Hold on. My phone stopped talking. Let me make it. There it goes. Well, hold on. I did something. There we go. All right. The FRRP update. I sent out an email to the committee kind of letting know where we stood with some of that. But Christy, do you want to kind of explain where things are with the FRRP and what needs to happen?
Sure. So we submitted the FRRP that the committee voted on to RSA, and they did have, we had a brief conversation with them. They had just some follow-up questions, and they were actually very, and again, we touched on this last meeting, they were very complimentary to the work group on the proposal. So we have received the money. We actually received it. However, we don't have appropriations to spend the money. And it doesn't matter that this is 100% federal dollars that we should have to get appropriation. It's state law. And actually, other agencies are having the same situation with COVID and federal dollars coming in. So the options were to take it to controlling board and to try to take it in before July 1 to controlling board, and that was going to be a 50-50 chance on whether or not that would even be able to happen. And if it did, we would have like a very short window to get checks out at the end of June before Oak shuts down for the end of the fiscal year, or to put it into an amendment to the budget. And then it would be effective July 1. We could get checks out July 2nd. And so that was the route. That was the fastest, easiest, sure route that we would probably be able to do. And so we worked with our legislative liaison. He's worked with the senators. Again, we're one of many agencies that are putting in amendments specific to federal COVID relief dollars. Right now, we're in the midst of, and you might hear from consultants, making sure that the W-9s are all accurate and correct. We're working with our IT department and fiscal to ensure that we have proper coding, because the requirement is that as an agency, we're going to have to report this out, not on the RSA 15, but I believe another fiscal report. So it is our plan. Plus, we need to get the attestations out and back from everyone, and everyone needs to sign those. So if all that goes through, which we're hoping it does, that we could then cut those checks as of July 2nd.
Okay. Any questions?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Doug.
I took a look at that document, and I'm just needing a little clarity. It talks about in the first line your net profit and the program's net profit, and you divide one into the other and so forth. Do we actually need to fill out the net profit figures, or is that already done?
So
and all we got to do is sign.
Yeah, I'm going to have Amy take this over. I will tell you that the committee and you guys voted on the original attestation that went to RSA, and everyone was fine with it. And then what we thought about doing was doing a cover letter that had those numbers in it, but then it would be confusing. So we just combined it into one letter. So Amy, if you want to answer Doug's question, I'll be quiet.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
The attestation will be filled out. So it'll have your name, your lost net profit, and what you will be receiving. It'll also, what you'll get in the mail is a cover letter that kind of just explains the attestation, and we just need it signed and back to the program. And we were leaning towards giving everybody until June 18th, if that's okay with the committee. That way, if there were any issues with mailing or people needed help signing, we would still have in between June 18th and July 2nd to work out any issues. Along with the letter and attestation, the attestation talks about a profit loss report, and we have also already done that. It's just your net profit for each month in 2019, your net profit for each month in 2020, and then the difference between 20 and 19 to get that net profit number. So get all of those in the mail, and then you would return the attestation, and we would include that net profit loss report in your file.
Okay, so you've already done the math here, right?
Correct.
Or do we? Okay, so we don't need to do the math. We just need to sign it and send it back.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Amy. Appreciate that.
No problem. Sorry, that was probably a really long explanation for a simple question.
No, that's okay. It
provided clarity, Amy.
Yeah. Anyone else have any questions about the FRP or the attestation form?
Oh, Madam Chair?
Yes.
Just one other thing for Amy. Have you sent out that document yet and those letters to us, to the operators yet?
Madam Chair, no, we have not sent those out yet. We were making sure that the committee approved the attestation before we sent those out, and we are going to have consultants reach out to all the operators to let them know that it has been sent. And if a week or two goes by and you still haven't received anything, we're going to want to know that so we can get that to you as soon as possible.
Thanks, Amy.
Yeah, and one thing that so the consultants do let folks know, because this needs a physical signature, It is going out in print, in the mail, so it's not in people's standard, accessible format type thing.
So we'll need somebody sighted to help us.
More than likely, yeah. Even though I'm sure folks would want to read it, but I'm wondering if the Bureau would consider just maybe if it would be helpful to put a little tab on the letter where the operator needs to sign. Like a little piece of tape, or I don't know. I mean, folks may want to read it and have someone read it to them anyway before they sign it, would probably be the prudent thing. But
Madam Chair,
yes, John.
suggestion. Why not send everybody an email saying this is what you're going to get and this is what it says? And can you please sign it and explain why it needs to be signed?
That's already come out in the,
well, to us, yeah, but not
to the committee.
Yeah,
to,
no, it
yeah.
needs to,
I'm
yeah.
talking about to all the operators.
Yeah,
That's true.
I
There
think it's a good
probably should
idea.
be something in people's accessible format, which is typically email for most folks, saying this is what's coming. You're going to get this in the mail, because if folks don't know it's coming, it might sit there for a little bit before someone has somebody help them with the mail. They won't be expecting
Right.
something from the Bureau. Well, they said the consultants are going to reach out too, so people should be, I guess, expecting it if the consultants do that. So.
And they'll be able to ask a consultant to read it to them, won't they?
I would assume so, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Amy.
Also, once the operator talks to the consultant, if they would like it to be emailed for, just having for a record or using the screen reader, we're more than happy to email it to operators also.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
thank you.
And those are going to come in a postage paid envelope too, even, correct?
Correct, yes.
Yes, that's what I thought, because nobody has stamps anymore.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Keith.
so can we scan it, and send it back through the email system, same thing?
I would think not.
A lot quicker.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Amy.
Voice change, Madam Chair.
No, Amy, go ahead.
If that is what's easiest for an operator to do, if print it out, sign it, and scan it back to the Bureau, that's fine too. We just need that physical signature.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Tom.
I just wanted to clarify the concern was that it would be quicker, but the sooner you get it in, it has no reflection on how soon you'll get paid. Just letting everybody know.
Yep. Okay, anything else with this? Okay. The next thing was a rules revision update. We've passed through them, but I kind of wanted to put it on the agenda so everybody was aware and we were all on the same page where the rules were and what was happening now, and where we go from here. So, Christy or Greg or anybody want to tackle that one?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Greg.
It's Greg. So we submitted the rules to RSA last week to get it in line for their review and get their feedback.
Okay. And then what's the next step, just so the committee knows kind of what to expect? And
so later this summer, I think it's, I don't know the date anymore, but we'll be filing with JCAR, and we'll have to go through well, I always laugh at this one, the common sense initiative process, which is can be long. And then, the JCAR process, there'll be a public hearing. for public comment, and then the actual hearing with the JCAR committee. And so we will make sure that we are getting the information out to those dates and when things are going out and when things are due. But right now we're giving RSA some time to take a look at it and get back to us before it goes through the state process.
Okay. And there is opportunity. I mean, that's why we do the public hearings and stuff, correct? There would be opportunity to make changes or tweaks and stuff at that point if people do have concerns and all of that. I mean, that's why we do the public hearings, correct?
Yeah, there's multiple reasons. It's to make sure people can go on record whether they support or don't support, and if there's things that arise, and it allows JCAR to review too, to say and ask questions like, okay, people brought this up, but this is what's in the rule. Explain this to us. So that, yes, there's opportunity. If something ends up needing to be changed, it's not final till JCAR gavels it down with their vote that it's approved and moving forward.
Okay. Now, I know we have had things come up as late as the public hearings that everybody said, and we made changes before. So the Bureau and the committee was all like, oh, okay, we didn't get that. So wanted to make sure everybody realized that there are still opportunity for people to have input and to watch out for those public hearings and be able to testify at those if there's concerns. Okay. Any
Derek?
questions about the rule? Yes, Derek.
I just wanted to clarify. I may have missed it, but was there in the timeline given the occasion for the OOD public hearings to occur?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Greg.
That's part of the JCAR process. There's a public hearing requirement as part of that rule filing process that will take place. There's also then the ability to come to the actual JCAR hearing and provide comment and testify there too.
So just to clarify, there will be an OOD public hearing, and then there will also be a JCAR public hearing.
Yes, there will be. So the OOD has to conduct a public hearing through the Attorney General's office, runs it, and then when it goes in front of JCAR for them to vote, you can testify, to sign up and testify at the actual JCAR hearing.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. What would we have now? Let me see here. Oh, okay. The collection of payments. The next thing on the agenda. Yes.
Madam Chair.
Right.
I would like to, I'll put this out there and see where it goes, and if we need to tweak it, we will. I would like to move that the Bureau work with ODOT to stop the payments of janitorial and utility fees at ODOT facilities.
Is there a second?
Tracy Mark, connected.
I'll second that.
Okay. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Did I read a document recently that that said something about appealing to ODOT, but we didn't need to cite the court findings or something like that?
I'm not sure, but the Bureau.
I remember something coming out about that we need to redo it with just a simple request directed at ODOT rather than
found fault and did not accept our motion that we passed at the special meeting. Well, they semi-accepted it, but they didn't accept it in their hearts, as it were, from the last meeting, because it was complicated, and they found exception with words like illegal and unlawful.
Okay.
So Frank's motion and the one you just seconded was just very simple. We asked the Bureau
That's what that
to approach
motion is
ODOT
about, is simplifying it.
Yeah, simplifying our stance on that.
I'll second Frank's motion.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
this is
Christy.
So now I'm confused because what you guys are motioning is exactly what we did. We went to ODOT and said, don't want to pay utilities. I don't understand.
We had no clue that you went to ODOT. Your motion said you would take it to ODOT, but then it went on to talk about your response to the motion from the last meeting said that you would go to ODOT, but you went on for some period in that saying why you objected to the motion, and it needed to be determined judicially and all kinds of other gobbledygook that was in there. So
I'll give an update. We went to ODOT, or the director went to Director Marchbanks, and he asked us for the court case. He asked for the Sixth Circuit, he asked for the AG opinion, and he asked for what you guys said, the DAS contract, and we gave it to them. And it's my understanding he's taking that back to his legal team, and they're taking it under advisement.
Okay. Well, we did not realize that. So in light of that, I don't know if there is a need for the motion at this point. Unless the committee feels otherwise, there is a motion on the floor and seconded,
Well, I'd be happy to retract my second if Frank will retract his motion.
I mean, there's no harm or foul in putting it out there, probably, if they've already done it.
Well, it makes the motion redundant on that, doesn't it?
It does, but that's what I'm saying. There's no harm or foul that I can see in passing it again if it's something they've already done. And it just reiterates the point, I guess.
Right.
So,
Madam Chair.
Yes, Tom.
Just as part of discussion, if we make a motion, the Bureau is then obligated to respond to that motion. If we suggest to them that they do something they've already done, their response is kind of a foregone statement. So I wonder, I mean, it can't hurt to restate our position, I suppose, but on the other side, we're formally asking them to do something they've already done, which I believe it goes back to my earlier statement that when this committee makes a motion, it should mean something and it should be significant. And if they've already done it, then I guess we achieved the goal we were hoping to achieve with the first one.
Okay.
Yeah, I will. If the rest of the committee is comfortable with it, I will withdraw it.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
Well, thank you, and thanks to the Bureau for taking that to ODOT. We'll see what happens. We do have, though, in a similar vein, the utility fees at Wright-Patterson.
Yep.
That we were remiss in not including in our last meeting.
So we want to make the
that I think we need to move. I do think we need a motion.
Right. Do we want to use the same one that we just used for ODOT, or do we need that to be?
I think we could I think we could keep it simple and
fine. Move that the Bureau work with Wright-Patterson Air Force Base to stop the payment of utility fees.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Madam Chair, it's
Yes.
Christie.
Yes, Christy.
So, couple things with utilities that make it a little different as well. It was part of a settlement. Again, your guys' interpretation that Sixth Circuit applies to everything. I mean, I get it. I hear your interpretation. I don't think we even have necessarily interpretation on that other than I'm not a lawyer and I'm not a court. The other thing that I just want to tell you guys about is that please talk to your constituents, because I heard from a staff member this week that one of the people at Wright Pat is very concerned about that course of action and feels that this might be detrimental to their business. That's all I'm saying.
Well, that operator would have the opportunity to work with Wright-Patterson on their own and establish a fee if they felt they could still needed to pay it. It just doesn't belong as part of the Bureau grantor agreement.
Okay.
Well, and Madam Chair, I will state for the record that nationally, DOD, they don't, they're not a fan of Randolph Shepherd. I'll just say it that way.
Yeah, they are not. No. We have a motion, a second. Any other discussion? Okay. Call for the vote. Frank?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Jim?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any
Derek?
other? Yes, Derek.
I just would be curious for somebody to ask the question how the letter was received at DSCC over commissions that was sent a while ago, or if there hasn't been any response or feedback.
Madam Chair, it's Christy.
Yes, Christy.
We did send it and we heard nothing, absolutely nothing. So.
Okay. When is the start date for folks to stop commission payments at DSCC? What?
Madam Chair, I don't have that
Madam Chair.
in front of me, but I thought it was June 1st. Scott?
Okay.
Can you?
Yeah, I'm currently the only operator that's paying the commission, and I was advised to make my final payment because I pay for the previous month.
Right.
So I'll make a commission payment in June, and that will be the last one.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions about the payments? Okay. Okay, the Sandusky Veterans Home. Everyone, I hope, received all the information that Christy sent out. And
Madam Chair,
yes, Doug.
why is there a lot of equipment there?
Yeah. There was.
I mean, I'm not sure. Are there 6 buildings on property containing all those machines?
Yeah, I don't know.
Madam Chair,
Yes, John.
am I wrong, or was there no snack machines anywhere?
There was.
There were snack machines.
Yeah, I thought there were snacks. Yeah.
They were.
Cold food vendors, coffee machines, the works.
There was even some machine that somebody else does, and they wanted somebody else to, they wanted whoever fills the rest of the machines to provide maintenance and repair on the machine. That somebody else does. I didn't catch all that, but yeah, there was some.
I didn't understand. I didn't understand that one either. I just read it a couple times. Like, what?
They even have a frozen machine.
Oh yeah. So,
cigarette machine.
Yeah, which I guess if you're in a veterans home, they're legal. Most places, cigarette machines aren't legal. I didn't think, but I guess if it's just a veterans home, they're legal.
I missed the cigarette machine.
Yeah.
But that commission deal is something else.
Yeah,
My goodness.
But I guess we got to decide if we're going to give them a waiver or what. Hey, Lisa?
Madam Chair, after
I think that's
after
Lisa.
having looked. Oh, I'm sorry. It was Christy. I'm sorry.
No, somebody's talking in the background. It sounds like it could be Lisa, so maybe she got unmuted.
Oh.
Yeah, it's Lisa. This one.
Tom, you wanna? He's gonna mute everybody again, I think, and. Okay. Anyone who needs to talk will need to unmute themselves again.
All right, I'm here.
Okay, Frank, go ahead.
I was going to say, I want to thank Christy for providing us with all of that information. I think it was very helpful. That the law that they cited, I think is, it's something that I believe would probably have to go to a hearing and have to be adjudicated through that process. And just my own belief is, I think the sales are probably more than what's being reported because of the commission that's being paid and the way that deal's set up. If it goes over 175,000, they pay more commission. So, but having said all of that, I would like to see right now, I'd like to see our resources focused on going after these beverages at universities and going after the universities. When I say going after, I mean going after business there. Going after the beverage business and at other places where we don't even have any snack, going after the businesses at those locations as well when we are financially able. And I'd like to see our focus on that, not on just that, but on other stuff too. And the other thing I would like to say is going forward, I think we need to revisit the issue of having a teaming partner. So when, and I don't know that we would do it with the veterans home facility, but when stuff like that does come available, that we could, if we didn't have an operator in that area or an operator available to do it at that time, that we could put it into a holding pattern so that maybe the program could make a little bit of money off of it and the teaming partner could run it until we had somebody ready to go in or somebody in that area. So that's something I think we need to think about. I don't want to tie up all of our resources right now in a big legal fight with the veterans home. I do want to hear what the other people on the committee think, though. I'm just saying my thoughts, and if people think differently, I'm more than willing to listen to what they have to say. But and at some point, we may want to actually, look at this harder. But I don't know that the timing is great right now. And there's also optics and public relations with this when you do something, because the first thing that will be said is our program will be accused of, trying to take something from veterans or something along those lines. And I don't want our program to have that narrative right now either. The only concern I have with saying that is, if we give the waiver for this, is, I'm concerned down the road universities or some entity could go, well, but, we use the money from the vending for retirement for our staff and for our students, or we do student benefits. And so I'm a little leery of it, but at the same time, we don't want a political war either, I guess is where I'm at with it. So I'm going to yield the floor. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thanks,
Madam
Frank.
Chair?
Yes, Doug.
If we were to give the waiver, will we pull all that equipment and bring it home?
It's not our equipment.
Not our club.
Oh, no? None of it?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. So, so is there a motion out there? Or?
I'll make the motion, Nanette.
Yes. Doug.
I move that we give the waiver to the veterans. I mean, I agree with Frank that it's going to make our program look bad if we're seen to be taking something away from the veterans. I missed the figures though on I got the percentages of the commission, but I don't have the actual hard numbers of what that looks like. And I can't remember what the net profit was. So I'll make that motion with a little more discussion.
Did you want to put a year for so long?
Oh, okay.
Give a waiver and for.
Let me put that as a topic for discussion for the committee. I'd like to hear what other people think in terms of a time frame.
I know the last one we did was 5 years.
5 years? Okay. Then,
maybe 30, I don't know. I would say 36 months or something like that.
3 years, okay. 3 years, 5 years, we can.
Yeah, 3 years is good as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. Well, we'll see where everybody is then. Like Frank's point was about putting resources in and all this and that. A lot of things could change in 3 years. So maybe we may have more operators then. Who knows? So
yeah,
we can address it then in 3 years. So
just to reiterate then, the motion is that I move that we permit the waiver to go forward for 3 years.
For the Sandusky Veterans Home. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Larry, thank you. Any more discussion? Okay. Call for the vote. Doug?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Frank?
Yes.
And Jim?
Yes.
Okay.
So,
Huh? Did I miss something?
Just for, Madam Chair?
Yes, Larry.
That was Keith Trammell that seconded that.
Oh.
Right. Thank you.
No, Chief, I'm sorry. You're I misheard. So we got to wipe that out because we didn't get a second on it. Shoot. I apologize. So much for the communicating. I really thought that was Larry that seconded it. Keith, I'm sorry. You're not able to second things. Being an alternate.
Okay.
With Jim here. So
Okay.
Doug has a motion out there. Is there a second?
I will second.
Okay, thank you, Scott. And just to be official, we'll go through the vote again. So, Doug?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Frank?
Yes.
And Jim?
Yes.
All right. Sorry about the redundancy there. When I misheard, I I thought we had a legitimate second. So just to make everything official. The other thing we had on here was program growth. And I just kind of left it general to see if there was anything anyone wanted to bring up with that. I'm kicking around a few things in my mind. I know we have a work group. I didn't know if anything had been talked about or done, or if anyone had anything they'd like to put on the table today, it's definitely something we want to tackle.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I've thrown down some just concept ideas off of people. Well, one's not a concept idea. I don't know if any states are doing the coin-operated laundry like on university campuses or even in the private sector. The other, one of the concept ideas that I had that I think I had mentioned to you was, could we have an operator or a manager, whatever you want to call it, run a facility like a call center type thing? And I do think we have other disability groups that may do that, so we would have to be careful with that type of thing. But the other thing that would do, if we were able to do a facility like that, is it would empower that would empower the operator to hire other blind and visually impaired people. Because if it was a call center, hopefully it would create some jobs, and it would work towards hopefully bringing down the unemployment rate in the blind community. So that was a thought. How it all works, and how do you, and you know, sometimes a concept, it's a lot harder to take a concept and turn it into reality than just talking about it. But that was one idea. The other thing, from hearing Nikki Gakos on some of the national calls talk about looking at janitorial contracts, and I don't know exactly how that would work, but there might be some opportunities to take janitorial contracts. And not that I know anything about janitorial, but I guess we can all learn if we need to. But so that might be a conversation to have with Nikki Gakos at some point. And I was trying to think if there was anything else. And then I know you had some thoughts, and I don't know if you're ready to share them yet or not. But
well, I just want to think about the topic we had a few years ago with the go-getter stuff, which for anyone who wasn't around then, the go-getter in theory was operators sell the program, try and establish things or sites on private sector type facilities. It wouldn't qualify for where we have priority. And if an operator can establish a site there, it becomes theirs. It would be determined by the local selection panel, or if it was big enough, by the entire committee. If it was a good, we would do a site assessment, just like we do for anything, to see if it's a good thing for the program. But if the program decides to take it on, it becomes that operator's. Now, there need to be a lot of discussion on that, does it become the operators permanently? Does it become theirs, for so many years? What I know, there's been some different talks about that. What types of facilities? Would we just stick with vending and or micro markets, or go to full-blown cafeterias? I would be against going full-blown cafeteria type things, just because of the investment and the fact that we could lose it. So there'd be a lot to talk about, but I really think we should look at doing that. We can't, as much as we would like to think we cannot rely on the Bureau to sell our program for us to the private sector.
I know when the yellow light being started stopping. It used to be like,
Keith,
how are you? When I was younger.
Keith, you're not muted.
Sorry.
That's okay. We can't
Madam
rely
Chair.
on the Bureau to do that. We just, that they're not going to do it. As much as, if somebody approaches them, they may or may not do it. We don't know that, but they're not going to go out knocking on doors and selling the program on non-priority locations. So it's up to our operators to do it. And we have a few operators who would do it just for the program and not necessarily do it just, to enrich themselves. But we probably have more, in all honesty, who would put more effort into it if they got something out of it personally. So it's something I'd really like to look into. Doug?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Doug.
I would like you to put your NABM hat on, and do I recall a discussion that I actually participated in a meeting with, where one of the executives from the NABM on a national basis was suggesting different opportunities for work other than the typical vending that we do.
There are things out there.
I think we should investigate that, because I don't know what they are.
You know, I don't know. Am I allowed to switch hats in the middle of the meeting? I don't know. But let me work on that and try. Okay. Maybe we can put some kind of training thing together. And I'm going to talk to Nikki or Terry and try and see about if they could do maybe a training on non-traditional BE things. If there's enough of it out there that we can have some operators talk, that's a good idea. And I'll put Nikki on the spot and see if there's something we can do with that, and maybe do one of their Blast Live sessions on it or something. That might be something worth looking at.
Right.
Madam Chair.
Because I remember there was some, dog training or dog care being one of them.
Yes, and somebody did a car wash somewhere, and there is some laundry. Yes, John. John, did you?
Someone's on my door.
Oh.
Okay. What I was going to say is, I know that in some states, people run the food courts for buildings.
Right. Yeah, some of them, that you're right. Or we have the partnerships with one thing I know Nikki would be able to talk a lot about, Dunkin' Donuts. Now, I don't know if that fits in any of our facilities, but the point is to grow, and maybe it doesn't fit in any facilities we have today, but it might fit in something we could grow tomorrow.
Yeah, we need to find out how that works.
Yeah. So I'm going to call Nikki as soon as we're done with this and see if that's an idea that we can toss out there and what their thoughts are on that.
Madam Chair, we also have some, Madam Chair.
Yes, Frank first, and then Doug.
Okay.
They got into it a little bit in that February 5th call, I believe, but there wasn't enough time there was other topics that day. Yeah. So they hit it a little bit, but it needs to be expanded and looked at and talked about even more, so everybody can get a better understanding. And I don't know if we need to do them together, like the Dunkin' Donuts concept that I think Nikki runs a couple of those in New Jersey. We need to find out if he could explain how that works or what that setup is, so that other states understand how that's done in New Jersey or in other states.
Right. Yeah, and they did hit on that a little bit, but it wasn't. It was a little bit different than I was expecting it to be. That that call. But yeah, the Dunkin' Donuts thing, or other obvious,
franchise opportunities.
Yes. The janitorial thing I know has happened in Colorado. Any of you who's familiar with Kevin Worley, I know he had some hand in that at one point. I don't believe he still runs it, but where it became a facility or part of the rest stop facilities, I don't remember which, where they took over providing the janitorial services. They became the subcontractor, like where ODOT right now subcontracts with Goodwill and other entities to provide that service. Instead of that, they would subcontract, or that would be a BE type Randolph Shepherd facility that would provide that service. And I know Colorado did that at least at one point. I don't know that they're still doing it for sure, but I believe they are. And I don't know if that was a separate facility or they just had that as part of the people who are already running that rest area. I don't know the details of that, but it's definitely something that was out there.
Right. And Madam Chair, the other thing I will add is on one of those calls, hearing Michael Talley talk about that he has 110 machines and only 9 or 10 of them are through the program. So he's apparently got a lot of private sector stuff. We need to find out how he does that and how his agreements are set up. And are they through the program? Or are they between him and the private sector grantor? Or how? Anyway, you know where I'm going.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Alabama is the poster child for the go-getter. And if the poster child has a poster child, it would be Michael Talley, who has been very successful in that. So, yes. So we have some work to do. You know, we've been focused so much now on the pandemic, getting our folks through it, and we're not there yet, but we're hopefully seeing some light. And on the rules and all that. But so now it's time to shift our focus from, getting our folks back up and running, those fortunate enough who's going to be back up and running, and working to, if not grow, at least sustain and then hopefully grow our program to recover from the damage the pandemic is. The unknown damage that we're about to face with it, because we do not know how the long-term last. Somebody brought up earlier, we have already lost one facility. We're going to lose other ones. I just don't see that that's not going to happen. I'm fairly certain, we talked a lot about the base there in Zanesville. I'm fairly certain we're going to lose at least one facility there, probably at Wright-Patterson. We could. We that's still a lot to talk about, but and there's other ones, so we got to at least try to sustain and then grow. Oh,
absolutely.
Okay. So yeah, I'm gonna call as soon as our meeting's done and try and figure something out with that. The other thing we wanted to talk about, Tom brought up earlier, the OVRC filling of non-represented seats represented alternates for seats that are vacant. We put something in the rules to fix that. Tom brought up possibly doing a policy around that. So what's everyone's thoughts on it? That is something we could probably implement.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Doug.
What's the difference between a policy and I don't know if I'm framing that correctly. Let me ask this. What's the advantage to creating a policy around this, since we've seemed to have done something about this in the rules?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Tom.
To answer that specifically, a policy would go into effect today. The rules don't go into effect until everything goes through its process.
Gotcha.
And it's something, a policy, the other advantage, if we saw something that none of us, some thing that we're not foreseeing that didn't work out well with it, we have time, as we talked about earlier when we discussed the rules revision, somebody could go in front of the hearing and say, look, we tried this in a policy and it failed miserably for this reason, so now we need to tweak the rule. I don't expect that, but it's probably worth trying and seeing if things work out well with it.
Absolutely.
Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
Tom and then Larry, I think it was.
Mine will be brief, Larry. I was just going to suggest that we take the current language that we're trying to put in the rule, we turn that into a policy, and we see how it works. If we try and reinvent the whole thing right now, we won't be achieving our goal of finding out what's wrong with the rule.
Makes sense. Larry?
Oh, as of July 1st, we'll have an unrepresented area, I believe. Is it Dayton?
Yes. As of right now, Dayton's going to be unrepresented. So we have, as of July 1st, we have Dayton unrepresented completely, and we currently have, honestly, a vacant alternate position in Toledo.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Tom.
I suppose if I was going to bring this up, I should have already grabbed that language from the rule and presented it to the committee as a policy, and then we could have voted on it. But since I don't have that, and that doesn't seem to be forthcoming, I guess I can commit to have that for the June meeting, at which time we could hopefully vote on it and get it implemented in time to get those areas represented in July.
Sounds good.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Doug.
Can I make a motion to affirm a motion to create what Tom is suggesting?
You can. I don't know
what
if
we're
you
talking
need
about
to.
good enough.
Yeah, Tom's going to have language for a policy to present in July.
Okay.
I mean, you can make a motion, but I think we're going to just do it, and then we'll see if it passes in June.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Scott?
if we hold off until June, will that not be, I don't know that will give us adequate time to fill those vacancies before there's a new election for the next term. What about if we ask the Bureau if they have a copy of the current language that we put into the rule? And that way we can vote on it today.
Well, yeah, if we pass it in June, we can probably do. I don't like that. I don't like myself. I mean, the rest of the committee may. I don't like being rushing it, I guess.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Tom.
I apologize for not having it prepared, but without being able to take a look at it and without being able to see how we would actually turn it from a rule into a policy without drastically changing it, I don't think can be accomplished right now. I should have done that prior to this phone call. I don't know why that didn't occur to me. But I guess, Scott, if it's a big enough thing, and I guess the way I'm looking at it is, if we have our meeting in June, we could schedule this, since it's going to be a special election anyway, we could schedule it rather quickly and get those seats filled. But if people felt it was important enough, we could call a special meeting in the first week of June. But as I said, it's my fault. I should have had it ready. I don't, and I would not be able to get it together right now on this phone call.
Yeah, and we don't do elections for OVRC until it's the third Friday in July, whatever date that is, the 16th, I think. And the point of it is to get somebody in the seats. So even if it's, it's better than what we'd have now if nobody runs for those seats. Even if there's a week or two, it's better than 2 years of not being represented. So, but we can try to get it done. But I don't feel comfortable in just reading the rule out there and like Tom said, trying to adapt that into a policy from a rule kind of on the fly. So, okay. So we'll look forward to that for a June meeting. If not the June meeting, then at least a June meeting. Anybody have anything else to bring up today?
Madam Chair, it's Greg.
Yes, Greg.
So I was trying to jump in on the previous topic of the growth and expansion, and I was fat fingering the mute button and didn't realize I was muted for a minute. I just want to say, I think from our standpoint, Annette and Tom, you can, also, the director said, absolutely, we can look at opportunities and figure out some other areas that we haven't traditionally been in, or private sector. We would, we need to for probably the future health of the program. So, I think for us, it would be helpful. And I know you have a work group, but if you could present to us, like, here's like 4 or 5 ideas, and like we could really focus on a couple things. I know there's a lot, and everybody's got good ideas, but if you guys could pare it down to a few for us to really kind of start digging in on, I think that would be helpful, because I'd rather do that from that perspective than just have my staff out randomly coming up with ideas and things that, none of you guys are interested in or think is a good idea. So, I think it would help if you guys can kind of drive and narrow the field down, and then we can kind of look at exploring a few options. And, I'm not doing this to be a downer, but, we also have to take into account if some of these costs and what they cost, what do we have the ability to do at this time versus what do we have to, kind of maybe staging things out of when we can do it. So, we're open to having those conversations and working through those things with you. So, I don't know if it wants to be a group you guys get together, or, you just, but if there's some way to kind of to pare it down into a few things that we can all dig in on, I think that would be helpful as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Gray.
Madam Chair, I'll have the program growth work group. We'll work on that, and maybe try and bring some stuff to the full committee for consideration, so that we have everybody on the same page. If that's cool.
Sounds good.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Doug.
I just had a thought for Frank and his work group in this regard. What about approaching smaller communities, villages, the city? I'm going to be approaching the city of Westerville for any kind of opportunities for vending. I did this a few years ago for myself, and I had things buttoned up to do vending for the city of Westerville until 7-Up trotted right up with their pouring rights.
Oh.
And I don't know how it is today, but it seems to me that approaching a small city like Westerville might be a good opportunity to expand our vending program at the same sort of cost that we would do a regular route.
Well, there's definitely a lot of good ideas out there. Well, there's a lot of ideas out there. We'll have to see if they're good when they push comes to shove, but they are good ideas. And that's what's going to do it. The brainstorming and the thoughts, like you just said, Doug, and Frank and other folks that I know Jim has had some ideas that we can do. So let's commit to doing this.
Absolutely.
Okay. Anybody else have anything to bring up today? All right, then we will adjourn to when's the next meeting? The 18th, I believe. Something like that of June, unless we meet before then. So
my last
have
meeting.
a good day. Yeah.